Hello, and welcome back. We have a lot of food to make, a sewing project to get started, and a garden to harvest, so let's jump right in. Spring and summer around here mean berries, and summer in particular means blackberries. We have a U-Pick blackberry farm somewhat near us, and then another one right down the road. And even though we have those close to us and access to those fresh local berries, my daughter decided she was going to eat all the blackberries that we got locally, and I still had treats to make. So here we are using frozen berries, but that is okay. That is the point of having them in the house, and I love that she tried something new this year and enjoyed some blackberry, so much so that this video is almost blackberry themed. Not quite, but we have a few blackberry things that will pop up here in this video. To start off, though, we are going to make a flavored sweet tea. I've done this in several videos. I've done peach, I've done strawberry. Well, now today we are going to do blackberry. It's one of our favorite things. Instead of sweetening with just plain sugar like usual, I am going to make a blackberry syrup. I am making this the same exact way that I make my strawberry top syrup. I'm just going to use the whole berries instead. So I'm just putting in however many blackberries. I think I showed 2 cups, but I ended up making more and doing 4 cups and then covered them in water. I just like to boil that or simmer that until it turns a really deep color and it seems like everything is really mushy and soft and all the flavor has been kind of pulled out of the berries. Now, once those berries have simmered away in the water, I am straining them off. I'm actually just using a coffee filter in a little mesh strainer here and draining those off completely, getting every little bit of juice that I can, and I strained them over this measuring cup so I could see how much liquid I actually had. And then, like I said, I ended up doing this again to have enough for the tea, but then I am rinsing that out to get any seeds. I'm adding equal parts sugar to the amount of liquid that I strained off the berries. So if there's 4 cups of liquid, I did 4 cups of sugar. It seems like a lot, I know, but generally you wouldn't have very much of this at one time. Now, we drink a lot of sweet tea, so I'm not saying that we didn't, but it's not something you are just drinking the whole thing in one sitting. Now, all that is left is to let that cook down until it has reduced just a little bit. Add in 2 cups of my blackberry syrup because I normally do 2 cups of sugar. So now Isla and I have a little project today, and we are going to have a little tea party to celebrate this project, a little blackberry tea party. So first, of course, we have to read some books. She is my reader, which Jack just doesn't have the attention span yet to enjoy books too much. He will sit and look at them, but he doesn't love them. Isla loves being read to, so we do that quite often. So here we are with our tea. Then I promised her a blackberry dress, so that's what we're doing. I started by getting my pattern. If I use a pattern, at least right now, what I rely on is a company called Little Lizard King, and I use a lot of her patterns. They are PDFs, so that you get the files and you download them and you can print them yourself, and I just print them on my home printer. I have another friend at church. She sews from all these patterns, and she has sewn several of these for Aladon, so I can go to her with any questions about these, and this is what she knows best, so I just stick with that too. I am not a pattern sewer normally. It's not something I'm very good at, but my mom was a big pattern sewer. She did 4-H and sewed a lot of her clothes and competed, and she always used patterns, and then my friend also uses patterns, so I have a lot of pattern users in my life, so I guess it is just time for me to do it, and I actually have enjoyed it. I've done a couple now. Now, I am not someone who enjoys summer, and I'm trying to be more positive about it, and I know a lot of people would think that is crazy, but we live in Arkansas, and once you hit June, it is just downright miserable. It is muggy. It is 90-degree days or more, And now we are in the beginning of August. A lot of this video that you're seeing me film was at the end of July. Some people, have like a winter depression, like seasonal depression in the winter. And I can get that way towards the end of winter, but summer is so much worse. I was telling my mom today, if I had to rank my favorite seasons, it would be fall, then spring, then winter, then summer. I love the garden. I love it. It is the only good thing, in my opinion. It is what gets me through summer. And this year I'm really struggling with the garden and with summer. So this was one of those meals that really kind of pulled it all together and made me feel a little bit better about it. But I am struggling, y'all, so bear with me. We are making spaghetti. We make spaghetti a lot. That is a very common meal around here. But there's something about doing it in the middle of summer, making your sauce from scratch with local tomatoes, or in our case, our garden fresh tomatoes, which I am very thankful for because I am not so sure that we are going to have any more the rest of this season from our own garden. But we had them here, and I was able to make the biggest pot of spaghetti and have leftover sauce to store up a little bit. I didn't can it, I just froze it. I had fresh basil from a friend, but also some from our garden. I had peppers from last year in the freezer, and all of these garden fresh tomatoes. So I decided I would throw all those in one big pot, cook it down. It took all day to cook down, makes the most delicious sauce. This is my favorite thing to make with tomatoes out of our garden every single year. This is what I get excited about for tomatoes, a big pot of fresh spaghetti. Now on the side, I am making some meatballs. We don't do meatballs very often. I don't particularly love them, but my husband really does, so I need to be better about making them. But I am just mixing up some ground beef, some garlic powder, some salt, some pepper, an egg, and some oat flour, and mixing all that together, adding enough flour for it to kind of hold its shape. And then I'm just rolling these into meatballs, putting them in my cast iron skillet, and then baking them until they are done all the way through. I bake at a high temperature because I like the outside to be really nice and crispy. So we're just adding our spaghetti noodles and our sauce and our meatballs onto a plate for a nice, delicious spaghetti supper. Now out to the garden we go. I will say, for struggling in the garden this year, we have had major issues with chickens and bunnies, our chickens, but wild bunnies getting in the garden, and we've had to line our brand new fence with chicken wire, which the fence is not done. I have big plans for this fence. I want to stain it white and add white pickets all the way around it and that match the garden gates and pretty it up, but it does look really nice still. But we did have to add chicken wire. So the chickens got a lot out of our garden, and with the stage of life that I'm in, I just didn't have the willpower to fight them too terribly much. But grass was another thing that we struggled with. However, despite this, I had some major successes. This is the first time I personally have ever been able to successfully grow any kind of pumpkin or winter squash myself. Now, my mom has grown them successfully before, but I have not. They always die out from the heat and squash bugs, but not this year. So I am just so excited. I think these trellises, these arches made all the difference. So we will continue doing that going forward. Our flowers also are just wild. I've only watered this garden like 3 times the entire summer, if that, and our flowers have just taken off. I promise they are just the easiest thing ever to grow, and we did not plant a single one of these. These all self-seeded even these sunflowers, and just, you know, in the last little bit did I actually plant some sunflowers for a fall harvest. I don't even know that they're going to work out. So volunteer flowers for the win. Now, Al and I wanted to do a little experiment, and I didn't know how this would go, but I'd seen a lot of people doing this for their butterflies. So y'all know we hatched butterflies. I already shared about that. Well, we had a second batch, round, hatching, I don't know, whatever you would call it. We got more sent in to us. And I know you're not supposed to do too many in a controlled environment. It's actually bad for them. So we didn't. But we did do it twice. And the second time I took some of the food and some of the caterpillars and I put them in a mason jar with lace over the top to see if they would hatch out safely in a different style of habitat. This was way easier and what I will go to from now on. First of all, I think it looks nicer than the big net. It also is less interesting to a very fat house cat of mine and a 2-year-old, almost 2-year-old little boy. We had issues with the little netting hamper-like thing with both the cat and the toddler. So this was way better. It also was smaller, and then you're supposed to sanitize these things in between, and I did not know how in the world I was going to sanitize that netting. So this jar works so much better. And so we were trying this out, put a little caterpillar in here to hatch out into another painted lady butterfly. Now, I've not been as good about putting out my flowers around the house, but I have made a couple bouquets, and most Sundays we have taken some to church to give away to the ladies in our congregation, and that is one of Al and I's favorite things to do. But today we are getting the flowers around the house, and I just always love the way it looks. I wish I was better at getting out in the garden and cutting and doing this. Maybe next year. We'll see. As the toddler gets bigger, maybe it will be a little bit easier. Now, Aladon and I decided we were going to make a Holly Hobby cake out of that vintage cake pan I showed you, and we have since become obsessed with vintage cake pans, and I've already bought another one. But this one didn't work out, so this is the recipe we used. This is a regular flour recipe. This is not gluten-free as far as the recipe goes. If you want to try it for yourself, I'm sure it is lovely. I truly think this failed because I was testing a recipe and a gluten-free flour blend of my own making all at the same time, which is a terrible combination. So I really think that is what happened, and we are going to do this again with a more versatile flour and see how it turns out. And once we got the cake done and I knew the cake was a flop, I was just kind of over it, and times were crazy, and so we just kind of poured a glaze on and added a little piping and called it a day. But we are going to do this again and do it the way I actually envisioned it, with prettier icing and pretty piping on it. I know you're supposed to use like the star tip and do dots all over the top of the cake. That is not really what I'm going for, so we'll see how it works out. This may never work out, and that's okay. But it's fun for Alla and I. And I love the vintage cake pans. I just think they're so fun. So anyway, this cake doesn't work out, but you know, that is life. And so I didn't want to take this part of the video out and just pretend like it never happened, because it did happen. And Alla and I had a blast this day in the kitchen together, whether the cake turned out or not. She enjoyed it, and it was a learning experience. So I am sharing that with you all today. I hope you're okay with that, with a recipe that didn't pan out. Now, I'm not saying it wouldn't if you tried it. That cookbook, every recipe I've ever tried has been very, very good. I truly think it was the flour I was using. So don't let me stop you from trying out that recipe. But it was a lemon berry. We did the luscious lemon cake batter, which was not very lemony. It called for lemon zest, which I did not have. So I was totally just relying on lemon juice, which does not give a lemon flavor. So I'm going to next time make it with real lemon zest, and maybe actually invest in some lemon extract and try that, because we like things very lemony if we're going to have it. Then we did a lemon glaze over the top, added a strawberry icing to pipe out the shape of Holly Hobbie, and then instead of a flower bouquet, we did a berry bouquet. And so you will see that here in a bit. For the icing, this icing is always a winner though. This is the strawberry icing I use on everything. Every one of Aladon's birthday cakes has been strawberry in her 4 years of life so far. And she's already told me that for her 5th birthday, she wants a strawberry cake. So I don't know. The girl is strawberry obsessed. This is the icing I've used every single time. All I do is add 2 sticks of butter, half a bag, so 16 ounces, 2 cups of powdered sugar, some vanilla, and mix that in a stand mixer. And then I add enough strawberry jam until it is the color and the flavor that I want. It's so easy, and it's my favorite. So this is the strawberry freezer jam that I shared a while back. I got the recipe from a friend who owns a berry patch down the road, and we'll never go back to any other kind of strawberry jam. So that's what we're doing here. To make the glaze, I just added lemon juice to powdered sugar until it was the consistency that I wanted. I don't always share what I'm reading. Sometimes I go through books faster than I can share with y'all, and sometimes they take me forever, and y'all would be seeing the same book over and over. It really just depends, but I'm a big reader. I think like Hallmark style meets like You've Got Mail. What I love about these books is they usually always have really interesting careers, and that is what I love. I don't know. I could read about someone running a small town inn or a bookshop or a bakery or a library. I could just always read it over and over and over and over. I don't even care how cheesy it is. I just love it. Now, to continue on after our cake decorating with books, I have shared about thrift books on here before. I make an order like once a quarter, or I'll make several. I just think they are awesome. Now, I'm all for supporting the library, local bookstores, all of that, but thrift books just has things I can search for certain things. I can browse. They have a lot of vintage books when I'm looking for them, and it's always, well, usually, sometimes it's not, but usually I can find a really, really good deal. So I had ordered a couple for me and a couple for the kids. I got Jack some. I told y'all he wasn't very interested in books, and he's not if I'm sitting there reading to him, but he is very interested in like flipping through. So I got him some Little Bear and Frog and Toad. He can look through the pictures. And then Isla's super into chapter books. She cannot read. We're working on it, but she likes to be read to at night. And I like chapter books because I don't have to worry about showing her the picture. She can lay there and close her eyes and just listen to the story. And then the next night we can come back and do the same. And she really likes it. We finished Charlotte's Web not too long ago, and I saw these. I have no idea anything about these. It's a series. I think there's like 4 of them. But the Girls of Lighthouse Lane. So we are going to see how we like those. I also found this vintage-ish strawberry shortcake book, and Isla wants to read it nonstop now. It is so cute, and I'm going to try and find more like this if they're out there. Now, another summer staple and another bonus of the garden this year, which I wasn't sure we were going to get, and we did, is refrigerator sweet pickles. I have tried canning pickles in the past. We just don't eat them. We don't like them. They're mushy. They're not the right flavor. So refrigerator pickles we have decided, our favorite. And what I like is I can keep them in the fridge. We can eat on them like this. But then if I need relish, I can take some out and throw it in the food processor and have relish from it, which we use quite often for chicken salad, for egg salad, and most recently ham salad. I love ham salad. And so these sweet pickles make the perfect addition. And I totally did everything wrong in this. I was stuffing jars and I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot the onion and the peppers. Then I had to get a cup of coffee so I could, get some caffeine in me and think clearly. So anyway, I only make these once a year, so I forget every single time. These are the best. You let them sit for 24 hours in the fridge, and I just pull these out sometimes and just snack on them a little bit here and there. They are so good. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I hope to see you again soon.